Here is the story of how a two-word question about milk became the most copied marketing formula in the history of the internet, and why every YouTuber, whether they realize it or not, is stealing from a 1993 Got Milk commercial directed by Michael Bay, the same guy who made Transformers. In the early 1990s, America had a milk problem. Consumption had plummeted nearly 20% over 2 decades. Americans went from drinking a cup and a half per day in the 1970s to barely 1 cup by 1993. The dairy industry had spent the entire 1980s running a campaign called Milk, It Does a Body Good, bombarding consumers with facts about calcium and protein and strong bones. And here's what happened. It worked, in the sense that people believed it. Consumers knew milk was good for them. They just didn't care. Knowing something is healthy doesn't make you reach for it. If it did, we'd all be eating kale for breakfast. So in 1993, the California Milk Processor Board hired a new executive director named Jeff Manning. And Manning tried something different. He brought in Goodbye Silverstein and Partners, a San Francisco ad agency, and told them to figure out why nobody was drinking milk anymore. The agency's account planner, John Steele, decided to run focus groups. But before the groups met, he asked participants to do one simple thing. Stop using milk for a week. Just quit cold turkey. When they returned, the responses were raw. One man described pouring cereal, slicing a banana on top, and then realizing there was no milk. "Now what could I do?" he said. "Pour the cereal back in the box. I can't use soda or Gatorade or water." People talked about eating brownies and cookies and feeling the crumbs stuck in their throat with nothing to wash them down. They were genuinely upset. And then one woman delivered the line that changed everything. She said, "You don't really notice milk until it's gone." That was the breakthrough. Steele rushed back to the office and told Jeff Goodbye this was brilliant. The absence of the product could sell the product. Instead of telling people why milk was great, they would show people what life was like without it. Goodbye called it the deprivation strategy. And when someone asked him what to title the pitch deck, he said, "I don't know, maybe just Got Milk." A colleague suggested Got Enough Milk? Made more grammatical sense. Goodbye said no. He wanted it shorter, catchier. The first commercial aired on October 29, 1993. Michael Bay directed it, and at the time he was a recent film school graduate shooting commercials through a production company called Propaganda Films. The spot featured a scrawny, expressive actor named Sean Whalen playing a history buff surrounded by Alexander Hamilton memorabilia. A radio contest calls and asks who shot Hamilton in the famous Burr-Hamilton duel. The guy knows the answer. Of course he knows the answer. He's standing in a room full of Aaron Burr artifacts, but his mouth is cemented shut with peanut butter. And when he reaches for the milk, the carton is empty. He tries to croak out Aaron Burr, but all that comes out is a muffled garble. The DJ hangs up. $10,000 gone. And then those 2 words appear on screen. Got milk? The ad was a sensation. California milk sales jumped 7.7% in the first year, from 740 million gallons to 755 million. That 15 million gallon increase came from just $23 million in annual ad spending. Money collected from a 3-cent contribution on every gallon sold. Manning later cited figures showing the campaign halted a decline that could have cost the industry $255 million annually in California alone. The commercial won a Grand Prix Clio Award. It was eventually named one of the 10 best commercials of all time in a USA Today poll. And in 2009, it was inducted into the Clio Awards Hall of Fame. But here's the part most people miss. Steven Spielberg saw that commercial and loved it so much that someone from his production company, Amblin Entertainment, showed up at Sean Whalen's acting class and said the words every struggling actor dreams of hearing. Steven Spielberg loves your commercial. Whalen was cast in the big-budget disaster film Twister. And Michael Bay? The following year, he directed Bad Boys, his first feature film. A milk commercial launched 2 Hollywood careers. At its peak, the campaign reached an estimated 80% of US consumers daily. Over 90% of Americans recognized the slogan. More than 70 commercials aired in California alone, and around 350 milk mustache ads ran nationally, featuring everyone from Britney Spears and Beyoncé to Batman and SpongeBob SquarePants. The phrase spawned hundreds of parodies. Got beer? Got hair? Got Jesus? By 2005, the California board created a poster cataloguing the top 100 spoofs. Jeff Manning called them stupid rip-offs, but he knew every parody was essentially free advertising. Now here's where this connects to every thumbnail and title you've ever clicked on YouTube. The Got Milk campaign didn't sell milk by saying, "Milk is delicious" or "Milk is nutritious." It sold milk by making you feel the pain of not having it. That's not just clever advertising, that's behavioral economics in action. Specifically, a psychological principle called loss aversion, first identified by Nobel Prize-winning psychologists Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky in 1979. Their research showed that the pain of losing something is felt approximately twice as strongly as the pleasure of gaining something equivalent. We are hardwired to avoid loss more than we are motivated to pursue gain. And this is the exact formula that dominates YouTube today. Think about the titles that get millions of clicks. Stop making this mistake. Why you're losing money. The gear you should never buy. These aren't positive recommendations. They're deprivation strategies. They make you feel the absence, the gap, the thing you're missing. Just like Got Milk made you feel the horror of a dry mouthful of peanut butter with an empty carton on the counter. It's what marketers now call FOMO, fear of missing out. MrBeast himself has said that negative clickbait is much easier than positive clickbait. His thumbnails follow the same logic. Exaggerated expressions of shock or distress. Bright colours that pop on a phone screen where thumbnails render it roughly 200 by 113 pixels. And curiosity gaps that create an itch you can only scratch by clicking. More than 70% of YouTube views happen on phones. At that scale, you don't have time for nuance. You need the emotional punch of deprivation. The formula translates almost perfectly. Got Milk showed you the absence. YouTube titles use negative framing. Got Milk created emotional frustration. YouTube thumbnails show shocked faces and things going wrong. Got Milk had a simple, memorable question. YouTube titles use curiosity gaps that demand answers. Got Milk used humour with stakes. YouTube creators build scenarios with consequences. Got Milk was universally relatable. The best YouTube content taps into universal fears of missing out. And yet, here's the irony that makes this whole story fascinating. Despite being one of the most culturally dominant campaigns in advertising history, Got Milk couldn't actually stop milk consumption from declining. The long-term trend continued downward. By 2014, MilkPEP officially retired the campaign and launched something called Milk Life. As one analysis put it, the campaign was more memorable than it was effective. It won the culture war and lost the consumption war. The same tension exists on YouTube. Creators who master this formula get extraordinary click-through rates. But clicks aren't the same as watch time, and watch time isn't the same as loyalty. The deprivation strategy gets you in the door. What keeps you there is something else entirely. Still, 30+ years later, every time a creator writes "stop doing this" in a title or puts a horrified face on a thumbnail, they're channeling a focus group from 1993, where a woman said the most important words in modern marketing history. You don't really notice milk until it's gone. They're all running the Got Milk playbook. Most of them just don't realize it.